The Universal Fitness Convention Center sprawled across 3 city blocks on the neutral planet of Merkara Prime. Inside, the air hummed with the electric buzz of 1,000 different species, all gathered for one purpose: the Galactic Strength Summit. Commander Vex of the Krothian Empire stood at the entrance to the main exhibition hall, his 4 muscular arms crossed in what could only be described as supreme confidence bordering on arrogance. Next to him stood Ambassador Zalara, a sleek Veltorian whose purple skin shimmered under the artificial lights. She tapped one of her elongated fingers against her datapad, scrolling through the roster of participants. Her triple set of eyes narrowed with interest. "The humans actually accepted the invitation," Zalara said, her voice dripping with amusement. "I must admit, I did not expect that. Their audacity is almost charming." Vex let out a rumbling laugh that sounded like rocks grinding together. Charming? More like foolish. Have you seen their physiological data? Single heart. Pathetic bone density. No exoskeleton. No natural armor plating. They're essentially meat wrapped in thin skin. And yet, Zalara continued, a smile playing at her lips, they did defeat the Horgoth invasion fleet last year. Luck, Vex spat, dismissing the comment with a wave of his upper right arm. Pure tactical luck, combined with reckless stupidity. Today, we test raw physical capability. No ships, no weapons, no tricks, just pure biological superiority. The humans will be humiliated, and the galaxy will finally see them for what they truly are. Weak. Across the massive hall, in the designated Earth delegation zone, Marcus Chin cracked his knuckles and grinned. The sound echoed in the small preparation room, sharp and deliberate. He was not a large man by human standards, standing at 5 feet 9 inches with a lean, athletic build. His dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and his brown eyes sparkled with something that looked suspiciously like mischief. "You hear that?" Marcus asked, gesturing toward the door, where Vex's voice could still be heard ranting about human inadequacy. "Big guy out there thinks we are made of papier-mâché and broken dreams." Beside him, Sarah Kowalski stretched her arms above her head, her blonde hair catching the light. She had the build of a gymnast, compact and powerful, with muscles that coiled like springs under her skin. "Let him talk," she said calmly. "Words are just noise. Results speak louder." The third member of their team, Jamal Washington, sat on a bench doing breathing exercises. At 6 feet 3 inches and 220 pounds of solid muscle, he looked the part of a power lifter, which he was. His deep voice rumbled with barely contained laughter. "You know what the funny part is? They have no idea." "No idea about what?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. "About what we could actually do," Jamal replied, standing up and rolling his massive shoulders. "They see our specs on paper. 1 heart, standard bone structure, no armor. They think we are fragile. They have no clue about the 1,000 other things that make us dangerous." Sarah nodded, her expression turning serious. "Pain tolerance, adaptability, endurance, the ability to push past every single biological warning our bodies give us. We are persistence hunters, remember? We ran prey to death for millions of years. And we are spiteful," Marcus added with a wolfish grin. "Never underestimate spite as a motivational tool." The door to their prep room slid open with pneumatic hiss, and a small, nervous-looking plebeian attendant scurried in. The creature resembled a large, upright ferret wearing an official vest. Its whiskers twitched anxiously. "Humans, yes, yes? Earth team, you are summoned to the main floor. The challenges begin in 5 minutes. Please follow, yes, yes?" The 3 humans exchanged glances, and in that moment, an unspoken understanding passed between them. They were not just representing Earth. They were here to prove a point. They were here to show every species in the galaxy that humanity was not to be dismissed, mocked, or underestimated ever again. They followed the attendant through gleaming corridors lined with holographic displays, showing previous summit champions, mighty Krothians, fearsome Dracovians with their rock-like hides, graceful Veltorians with their enhanced reflexes. The Hall of Champions told a story that humans had never been part of, until today. The main arena was a spectacle that took Sarah's breath away. though she would never admit out loud. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species filled the stadium seating that rose in concentric circles around a central platform. Massive holographic screens floated overhead, ready to broadcast every moment to billions of viewers across the galaxy. The noise was deafening, a cacophony of languages, cheers, and anticipatory chatter. In the center of the platform stood the strength testing array, a marvel of engineering that could measure force output, endurance capacity, and physical resilience across any known biological configuration. It looked like a combination of a torture device and a high-tech gym, all gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields. Commander Vex stood at the judge's podium, his forearms raised for silence. The crowd noise died down to an expectant murmur. "Welcome," Vex boomed, his voice amplified across the arena, "to the Galactic Strength Summit. For centuries, we have gathered to determine which species possesses the greatest physical prowess in the known universe. Today, we have competitors from 17 worlds. But before we begin, I must acknowledge the newcomers." He turned his gaze toward the human team, and Marcus could swear he saw the alien's mouth twist into something resembling a sneer. "The humans of Earth have joined us for the first time. Let us give them a welcoming reception, shall we?" The crowd's response was mixed. Some species offered polite applause. Others laughed openly. A group of Krothians in the upper seats began chanting something in their native language that the translation matrix did not bother to interpret, probably for good reason. Marcus stepped forward, ignoring the reactions, his voice calm and clear. "We are honored to be here. We look forward to fair competition." "Fair indeed," Vex replied, and there was no mistaking the condescension in his tone. "The first challenge is simple. Deadlift. Each competitor will lift the maximum weight their biology allows. The platform will adjust gravity fields to ensure fairness across different world origins. Who wishes to begin?" A massive Draconian lumbered forward, its stone-like hide scraping against itself with each movement. The creature resembled a bipedal rhinoceros built from granite. It positioned itself at the testing bar, which immediately loaded itself with weight plates that gleamed with alien metals. The Draconian gripped the bar, its muscles tensing. The crowd fell silent. Then, with a roar that shook the arena, it lifted. The holographic display flashed numbers. 3,800 pounds, adjusted for gravity differential. The crowd erupted in cheers. The Draconian dropped the weight with a thunderous crash and lumbered off the platform, satisfied. Two more competitors went. A Veltorian managed an impressive 2,200 pounds using leverage and technique. A Horgoth warrior, all chitinous armor and hydraulic muscles, pulled 2,900 pounds. Then Vex himself stepped onto the platform. His forearms rippled with power, his orange skin darkening to deep crimson as blood rushed to his muscles. He gripped the bar with all four hands, positioning them along its length. The weight is loaded, 4,500 pounds. The lift was smooth, controlled, almost casual. Vex held the weight at full extension for a moment, his face showing no strain, before setting it down with barely a sound. He turned to the crowd, arms spread wide, basking in the thunderous approval. "Who can match the might of Croft?" he called out. "Who dares try?" Marcus glanced at his teammates. Jamal nodded once, a small movement that spoke volumes. Sarah's eyes were calculating, already analyzing Vex's form, his technique, looking for weaknesses. "I will go next," Marcus announced, stepping onto the platform. The crowd's laughter was immediate and loud. Even Zalara, the Veltorian ambassador, could not hide her smile. Marcus was small compared to every competitor so far. He looked like a child who had wandered onto a stage meant for gods. Vex's laugh was the loudest of all. "Human, your enthusiasm is commendable, but perhaps you should start with a lighter weight? We would not want you to injure yourself. Your medical technology is adequate." "Yes, but still." The condescension was thick enough to cut with a knife, and Marcus felt a familiar fire ignite in his chest. It was not anger. Exactly. It was determination mixed with a healthy dose of that spite Sarah had mentioned. He smiled, and there was nothing friendly about it. "Load the bar," Marcus said simply. "Standard weight. Same as everyone else." The technicians exchanged uncertain glances, but complied. "The bar is loaded with the baseline weight. 2,000 pounds to start, the minimum required to qualify. Marcus approached the bar, and the crowd fell into an anticipatory hush, the kind that precedes disaster or miracle. He rolled his shoulders, bouncing lightly on the balls of his feet. Then he bent down, gripped the bar with both hands, and took a deep breath. 3, 2, 1. The automated system counted down. Marcus pulled. The weight came off the ground smoothly. Too smoothly. The holographic display flashed green. Successful lift. 2,000 pounds. The crowd murmured, surprised but not impressed. After all, every competitor had managed at least this much. Add weight, Marcus said, his voice steady. The bar reloaded. 2,500 pounds. Marcus lifted again. Clean. Controlled. His face showed concentration, but not strain. More, he said. 3,000 pounds. The lift was slower this time, but Marcus locked it out, standing fully upright with the bar at his hips. The crowd's murmur grew louder, tinged now with confusion. How was this small human managing weights that should have crushed his inadequate skeleton? What is he doing? Zalara whispered to her assistant. His physiological profile should not allow this. Vex's confidence had not wavered, but his eyes narrowed, watching Marcus with new interest. More, Marcus repeated, and now there was an edge to his voice, a challenge. 3,500 pounds. This time, the lift was a battle. Marcus's entire body engaged, his legs driving upward, his back straight, every muscle fiber firing in coordinated fury. The bar rose inch by agonizing inch. His face reddened, veins standing out on his neck and arms, but his grip never faltered. He locked out the weight, holding it for the required 3 seconds before setting it down. The arena had gone silent, save for the hum of machinery. The holographic display showed Marcus's vital signs, and the medical technicians were frantically recalibrating their instruments. His heart rate was elevated, yes, but within acceptable parameters. His muscle tissue showed micro tears, normal for extreme exertion. But there was something else, something the alien equipment could not quite measure. It was the look in Marcus's eyes. It was the set of his jaw. It was the absolute refusal to quit that was written into every cell of his human DNA. 4,000, Marcus said, and the crowd gasped. This is madness, Vex protested. Human, you will end yourself. Your body cannot handle this. Marcus turned to face the Krothian commander, and his smile was savage. You know what is funny about humans, Commander? We are really good at ignoring what our bodies tell us. Pain? That is just information. Limits? Those are just suggestions. When we decide we're going to do something, our biology does not get a vote. He turned back to the bar as it loaded with 4,000 pounds. The weight that matched some of the strongest beings in the galaxy. The weight that should have been impossible for a species with one heart, no exoskeleton, and bones that, according to every database, were embarrassingly fragile. Marcus gripped the bar. He closed his eyes for a moment, and in that moment, he thought about every dismissive comment, every laugh, every species in the galaxy that had looked at humanity and seen nothing but weakness. He thought about the Horgoth invasion, where Earth had lost millions. He thought about every time someone had underestimated what humans could do when they got angry or desperate, or just plain stubborn. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Marcus pulled, and something primal awakened in that arena. The humans in the sparser section of the crowd began to cheer, their voices rising in a chant that started small but grew. Other species joined in, caught up in the moment, the sheer audacity of what they were witnessing. The bar rose, slowly, painfully, but it rose. Marcus's muscles screamed. His tendons felt like they might tear from a bone. His vision tunneled, his entire world narrowing to the weight in his hands and the singular goal of standing up straight. Every instinct in his body told him to stop, to drop the weight, to save himself. He ignored every single one. The bar reached his hips. He locked his knees. He straightened his back. He stood, holding 4,000 pounds of alien metal and engineering, holding the weight of every doubt and dismissal humanity had ever faced. The buzzer sounded. Successful lift. Marcus dropped the weight, and the crash was like thunder in the sudden silence. Then the arena erupted. The cheering continued for a full minute before Vex finally raised his arms for silence. His orange skin had gone pale, an involuntary physiological response that betrayed his shock. He cleared his throat, the sound harsh and grating over the amplification system. That was unexpected, Vex admitted, and Marcus could hear the effort it took for him to keep his voice neutral. The human has proven more capable than anticipated. However, raw strength is only one measure of physical prowess. The second challenge will test something else entirely: endurance. Zalara stepped forward, her datapad glowing with information. Her 3 eyes focused on the human team with new respect, though caution lingered in her expression. The endurance challenge is simple in concept but brutal in execution. Each competitor will run on an adaptive treadmill. The speed increases every 30 seconds. Gravity will be adjusted to home world standards. The last one running wins. Failure is defined as falling 3 times or voluntarily stopping. Sarah stepped forward, and Marcus saw the predatory gleam in her eyes. If the deadlift had been his moment, this was hers. Endurance was not just a human strength. It was a human superpower, carved into their DNA by millions of years of hunting across African savannas, chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. "I will take this one," Sarah announced, her voice cutting through the ambient noise. The crowd, still buzzing from Marcus's performance, quieted with interest. A Veltorian competitor stepped up beside her, his purple skin rippling with confidence. His name was Kresh, and according to the holographic display, he held the record for the 500-meter sprint on his home world. "I will race the human," Kresh declared, his voice smooth and melodious. "Let us see if their surprises extend beyond brute force." 2 more competitors joined. A Horgoth warrior named Threx, his chitinous armor gleaming under the lights, and a sleek Morphean, a species known for its incredible agility, who introduced herself as Lisa. The 4 competitors took their positions on the adaptive treadmills that rose from the platform floor. The machines hummed to life, each one calibrating to its user's physiology. Sarah rolled her neck, bouncing lightly on her toes. Her heart rate was steady, her breathing controlled. She had run ultramarathons back on Earth, 100-mile races through deserts and mountains. She had pushed her body past every conceivable limit and then found new limits to push past. "Competitors ready," the automated system announced. "Starting speed, 5 kilometers per hour. Speed will increase by 2 kilometers per hour every 30 seconds. Begin." The treadmill started moving, a gentle jog that was almost insultingly easy. Kresh looked over at Sarah and smiled, his teeth gleaming white against his purple skin. "When you tire, human, simply step off. There is no shame in recognizing your limitations." Sarah did not respond. She focused on her breathing, on her form, on the rhythm of her feet hitting the moving surface. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Steady, controlled, efficient. 30 seconds passed. The speed increased. 10 kilometers per hour now, a moderate run. All 4 competitors handled it easily. The crowd watched, engaged but not yet excited. This was still the warm-up phase. Another 30 seconds. 12 kilometers per hour. Then 14. 16. The pace was getting serious now, a legitimate sprint for most species. The Morphean Lisa moved with fluid grace, her body seeming to float above the treadmill. Threx, the Horgoth, pounded along with mechanical precision. Kresh maintained his easy smile, though his breathing had deepened. Sarah's face showed concentration but not strain. Her ponytail swung with each stride, her arms pumping in perfect rhythm. Inside her chest, her singular human heart beat steadily, efficiently pumping oxygenated blood to muscles that had been trained for exactly this kind of punishment. At 20 kilometers per hour, the Morphean began to struggle. Her graceful movements became labored, her breathing ragged. At 22 kilometers per hour, she stumbled, caught herself, stumbled again. On her 3rd fall, the system registered her failure, and her treadmill slowed to a stop. Morphean competitor eliminated. The system announced clinically. 3 remained. 24 kilometers per hour. 26. The speed was punishing now, a full sprint that demanded every ounce of power and coordination. Threx's armor was working against him, its weight becoming a liability. His breathing sounded like a steam engine, harsh and desperate. At 28 kilometers per hour, his legs gave out. He crashed hard, the sound of chitin hitting metal echoing across the arena. Horga's competitor eliminated. 2 remained, Sarah and Kresh, 30 kilometers per hour, and Kresh's smile was gone, replaced by a grimace of effort. His purple skin had darkened to almost black as his body diverted blood flow to his straining muscles. 32 kilometers per hour, 34. Sarah's face was red, sweat pouring down her temples, soaking her shirt. Her legs burned. Her lungs screamed for more air than she could give them. Every muscle in her body was begging her to stop, to give up, to accept defeat gracefully. She ignored them all and ran faster. The thing about humans that the galaxy did not understand, could not understand without experiencing it, was that humans were capable of overriding their own survival instincts. Their brains could tell their bodies to shut up and keep going long past the point where any rational biological system would force a shutdown. It was not about being stronger or faster. It was about being too stubborn to quit. 36 kilometers per hour. Kresh was gasping now, his form breaking down. His feet were barely clearing the treadmill's surface, his arms flailing for balance. At 38 kilometers per hour, he fell. Hard. He tried to get up, stumbled, and fell again. The third fall ended it. Veltorian competitor eliminated. Human competitor is the victor. Sarah's treadmill slowed gradually, giving her body time to adjust. She bent over, hands on her knees, gasping for air, her entire body trembling with exhaustion and adrenaline. But she was still standing. She had outlasted them all. The crowd's reaction was different this time. The cheers were louder, more genuine. Even species that had dismissed humanity before were beginning to understand. These were not weak creatures. These were survivors who had evolved to never give up. Marcus and Jamal rushed to Sarah's side, supporting her as she stepped off the treadmill. Jamal handed her a water bottle, which she drained in seconds. "That was beautiful," Marcus said, grinning. They never saw it coming. "One more challenge," Sarah managed between breaths. "Finish it." Vex was at the podium again, and if he had looked uncomfortable before, he now looked genuinely troubled. His 4 arms were clasped together, a Krothian gesture of deep contemplation. When he spoke, his voice had lost its mocking edge. "The final challenge is pain tolerance and recovery. Each competitor will be subjected to increasing levels of neural stimulation that simulate pain without causing actual damage. The competitor who withstands the highest level wins. This test measures not just physical resilience, but mental fortitude." Jamal stepped forward without hesitation. He had been quiet all day, watching, waiting for his moment. He was the anchor of the team, the steady presence that kept them grounded. And he had a secret that the aliens were about to discover. 6 competitors entered the final challenge. Along with Jamal, there was Vex himself, determined to redeem Krothian pride. A towering Dracovian named Gormith, whose stone skin should theoretically provide superior pain resistance. A Zentari monk who had trained for decades in mental discipline. A Vocurian soldier, a species known for its ability to continue fighting despite horrific injuries. And a Hessian, whose species could compartmentalize pain through a secondary nervous system. They each stood in designated zones on the platform, where neurostimulators would deliver controlled pain signals directly to their nervous systems. The technology was sophisticated, simulating everything from burning sensations to crushing pressure to electrical shocks, all without causing physical harm. Level 1, the system announced. A mild burning sensation, like touching a hot pan briefly. All 6 competitors handled it without reaction. Level 2, sharper now, like pressing against a hot stove. The Zentari monk's face twitched slightly, but all 6 remained standing. Level 3. The pain intensified, simulating broken bones. The Hessian hissed, his compartmentalization struggling to keep up. The Vocurian soldier's face went rigid, his military training kicking in. Level 4. Now it felt like being flayed alive, nerve-ending screaming in unified agony. The Hessian collapsed, his secondary nervous system overwhelmed. The system registered as failure and stopped his stimulation. Level 5. The Zentari monk, despite decades of training, fell to his knees. His breathing exercises could not overcome the simulated sensation of being burned and crushed simultaneously. He raised his hand in surrender, and his stimulation ceased. 4 remained. Level 6. The Volcurian soldier, trained to fight through anything, found his limit. His species might be able to fight with missing limbs, but even they could not ignore this level of agony. He stumbled, caught himself, then deliberately stepped out of the zone, choosing withdrawal over collapse. 3 remained. Vex, Gormith, and Jamal. Level 7. Vex roared, his forearms tensing as if trying to physically fight the pain. His skin shifted through a rainbow of colors, a Krothian response to extreme stress. Beside him, Gormith's stone exterior was cracking, with literal fissures appearing in his hide as his body reacted to the neural overload. Jamal stood motionless, his eyes closed, breathing slowly and deeply. His face showed the strain. Yes, sweat rolled down his dark skin in rivers. But he had not moved, had not made a sound. Level 8. Gormith fell. The mighty Dracovian, whose species prided itself on physical invulnerability, crashed to the platform with a sound like an avalanche. His stone body smoked slightly from the neural feedback. 2 remained. Vex and Jamal. The crowd was on its feet now, the noise overwhelming. Species that fought wars against each other were cheering together, united in witnessing something extraordinary. The human was still standing, still enduring, matching command of the Krothian Empire's finest warriors. Level 9, the system announced, and even the automated voice seemed reluctant. Vex screamed. It was not a roar of defiance or a battle cry. It was a scream of pure, overwhelming agony. His forearms flailed, his body convulsing. He took one step toward the edge of his zone, then another, his pride battling his biology. On the 3rd step, he crossed the boundary line. Krothian competitor eliminated. 1 remained. Jamal. Level 10, the system said. Maximum intensity. Human, you may withdraw with honor. You have already won. Jamal opened his eyes, and they were clear despite the tears streaming down his face. His voice was steady, strong, carrying across the suddenly silent arena. No, he said simply. Finish it. The level 10 stimulation hit him like a physical force. It was every pain humanity had ever experienced, concentrated into one moment. It was the pain of childbirth, of battlefield injuries, of burning and freezing and breaking all at once. It was designed to be absolutely unbearable, the theoretical maximum that any biological system could potentially experience. Jamal's jaw clenched so hard his teeth should have shattered. His hands curled into fists, fingernails drawing blood from his palms. Every muscle in his massive body contracted simultaneously, and he shook like a mountain in an earthquake. But he did not fall. He did not step out of the zone. He stood there, enduring, because that was what humans did. They endured. They survived. They refused a break. The stimulation lasted 10 seconds, though it felt like 10 years. When it finally stopped, Jamal collapsed to his knees, gasping. Marcus and Sarah were there instantly, supporting him, both of them crying openly with pride and relief. The arena exploded with noise. Every species, every being present was cheering, screaming, celebrating not just a human victory, but a revelation. Humanity was not weak. They were not fragile. They were something else entirely. They were survivors wrapped in determination, powered by spite, and absolutely unwilling to quit. Vex approached slowly, his forearms hanging limply at his sides. He looked at the 3 humans, and for the first time, something like respect showed in his alien eyes. I do not understand, he admitted, his voice quiet enough that only they could hear. Your body should not be able to do what you just did. Your specifications, your biology, everything says you should be weak. Marcus stood, helping Jamal to his feet. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. That is the thing about humans, Commander. We are weak. Our bones break easily. Our skin tears. We have no armor, no redundant systems, no built-in weapons. We are prey animals who decided to become predators. We are fragile creatures who conquered a dead world. Sarah continued, her hand still supporting Jamal. We survive because we refuse to do anything else. Pain? We embrace it. Limits? We ignore them. When our bodies say stop, we say not yet. When the universe says impossible, we say watch me. That is what makes us human. Jamal, still recovering but standing tall, finished the thought. You see our weaknesses and think that makes us inferior. We see our weaknesses and turn them into weapons. That is the difference. Vex looked at them for a long moment, then did something that shocked everyone in attendance. He brought all four of his arms together in a Krothian gesture of deep respect, a salute reserved for the most honored warriors. The galaxy has underestimated Earth, Vex said, his voice now amplified for all to hear. I have underestimated Earth. Today, we learn that strength is not measured only in muscles and armor. It is measured in will, in determination, in the absolute refusal to surrender. The humans have not just won today's competition. They have earned something far more valuable, our respect. The arena erupted again, and this time, the cheers were not surprised or reluctant. They were genuine, enthusiastic, celebrating not just a victory, but the addition of a new chapter to the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. As the humans walked off the platform together, supporting each other, exhausted but triumphant, Sarah started to laugh. It began as a chuckle but grew into full, joyous laughter that infected her teammates. What is funny? Marcus asked, though he was grinning too. We just won an intergalactic strength competition, Sarah said between laughs. Us, the species with one heart and no natural armor. We beat them all, and they still do not fully understand how. Should we tell them? Jamal asked, his voice rough but amused. About persistence hunting? About marathon runners? About how humans used to chase animals for days until they died of exhaustion? Nah, Marcus said, his grin turning wolfish again. Let them figure out themselves. After all, we got to keep some secrets. Besides, I hear they are hosting a combat tournament next year. The three humans looked at each other, and in that moment, another unspoken agreement passed between them. They had proven humanity was not weak. Now they could prove humanity was not peaceful either, at least not when pushed. But that was a story for another day. Today, they had done something far more important. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was not to be dismissed, that humans, with all their biological limitations and fragile bodies, were a force to be reckoned with. They had shown the galaxy that humanity did not need to be the strongest, the fastest, or the toughest to win. They just needed to be the most stubborn. And when it came to stubbornness, humanity had no equal. The Galactic Strength Summit will be remembered for many years across the civilized worlds, not as the day the mighty Krothians dominated again, or the Dracovians proved their invincibility. It would be remembered as the day the galaxy met humanity and learned a lesson they would never forget. Never underestimate the species that crawled out of the mud, looked at a hostile universe, and said, "We belong here too." Never dismiss the creatures who conquered their own planet before they even reached the stars. And never, ever, challenge a human to a test of endurance, pain tolerance, or sheer bloody-minded determination, because they will win, not in spite of their weaknesses, but because of them, because weakness made them adapt, fragility made them resilient, mortality made them value every moment, and the knowledge that they could die at any second made them absolutely fearless. That was the human advantage. That was what made them special. Not strength, not speed, not power, but the simple, unbreakable, utterly insane refusal to give up, ever. Subscribe and like to my channel for more sci-fi stories.